Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Morning Coffee with James. I'm James, and this show you're watching on YouTube, and hopefully BitChute. Well, excuse me, not BitChute. I'm not sure if BitChute's there anymore, but I like Rumble, so hopefully Rumble is my morning coffee show. And no, I don't have any coffee today. I drank it all. It's just been one hell of a week for me, and I could talk about that, but I don't want to talk about my personal life. So, and that's what today's topic is about Goonergate and Razorfist and Melanie Mack. And now, I want to say this straight up. Yes, Razorfist and Melanie Mack have a point. But I also think they're wrong as well. And I've said this before many of times, and I've actually listened to their counter arguments. I've actually sat down and listened to the 30-minute discussion for it. And honestly, I'm kind of sick of it. I'm kind of sick of people calling them hypocrites, and they're right, they are hypocritical, but they have a point. I don't agree with them 100% on everything, and I do agree they have a point, but I don't think it's 100% there. And it's, again, a lot of, why Christians are usually looked down upon as just bad people, or just not bad people, but just stingy people, you know. When John Leguizamo says, why does God get all the good ones, but we get all the retards? But in return, you get all the good artists and, you know, musicians and artists. They seem to, you know, understand evil or the occult. I mean, either way. But my thing about the whole Razorfist Melanie Mack thing is that they have a point, and I understand it well. That we shouldn't just trade in one deviancy for another. We shouldn't trade in, wokeness for goonerism. We shouldn't trade it in for just one or the other. Like, I'll give you an example of this. You know, I'm not a huge fan of the Resident Evil. I love the Resident Evil remakes. 2's definitely damn good. 3's okay. 4 tries too hard, but it is definitely fun. But the original's so much better. And I have to say, you know, like this, but the original games are so much better than the remakes. But I'll get into that with another video. But there's an interesting thing that Melanie Mack pointed out, that she just didn't, and I know I haven't seen the other videos that she discussed this on as well, so my research is still ongoing on this. But from the likes of it, I am not pro-censorship. When I was younger, I mistakenly took censorship and restraint as the same thing, because people are going to censor you either way. Like, there's always going to be these outside forces that are saying you can't do that, understandably. And, you know, if you're making stuff for kids, I grew up in the 90s watching some cartoons with some suggestive jokes that went over my head completely, but hit the adults square in the nose. And, you know, that's good writing. When you make something that, you know, kids can laugh at, but adults can laugh at and kids can scratch their head, but also know that it's kind of funny that you're kind of making fun of something that is taboo because it's not there. Like, Rocko's Modern Life is a great example. I know people point to Ren and Stimpy, but there's a couple of times in Rocko's Modern Life where it's like, they're not going to draw, like, perfect anatomy on Rocco. They're not going to draw his, you know, wallaby hood on him. Like, that's just inappropriate. But they can joke around with it by putting a censor bar there that, you know, doesn't really need to be there. They can, you know, make jokes where he's talking on the phone line to Mrs. Big Head and you realize, oh, it's a sex line. Jokes like that. I mistake that for restraint. Because sometimes you just, okay, I can't go do this. This isn't for a kid's show. I gotta take it back. I mean, Robin Williams made a Madonna joke that made me laugh, but it was not appropriate for, you know, Sesame Street. You know, knowing your audience is what you should do. And I understand where Melanie Mack is coming from. We shouldn't just have, you know, let me finish up what I was saying. So, to my teacher, Mr. Neil Goldstein, I apologize. I am stupid, and now I know my lesson. Restraint and censorship are not the same thing, but censorship is basically kind of an obstacle, and it's to the artist to kind of get around it. But nowadays, everything is kind of, you know, Wild West with writing. I mean, I love Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss, but you can cut down on the swearing. Like, seriously, I know it's hell and all, but it would be more funnier if, like, the characters try to find a way to restrain themselves from swearing so much, if they're trying to redeem themselves. You know, Hell, even Razorfist has stopped saying God fucking speed and now is saying God speed. It's not as edgy as like what he said before, and I think somebody talked to him about it. So, but when it came to Melanie, well, back on the subject, but Melanie Mac and Razorfist, I think, again, people don't realize this, but they are religious people. They are super Christian people, and they are Jesus freaks. They are Orthodox Christians. Those guys, and granted, you can call them hypocrites and stuff like that and all this, but you're surprised that Christians, right-wing conservative Christians, are asking, for no more Gooner games. I understand that completely. I'm, not in favor of censorship. I'm not. I mean, basically, if, it depends on the parent. That's where I'm trying to get to. Honestly, my mouth is dry and I'm afraid to go downstairs for certain reasons. But with Goonergate, I think this whole thing is just, it goes to anti-censorship to pro-censorship. And I also think it's about parenting as well. I'm okay with a parent not giving their kid Grand Theft Auto as a gift and not lecturing them about real-world consequences and stuff like that. And also a game like that does teach consequences. You go around causing problems, the police will come and shoot you. Or arrest you, either way. Or people will just knock you out completely. There's times in Grand Theft Auto 5 where you mess around and you find out. But, hell, even Michael DeSantis' stories like that. But, it's up to the parent to kind of guide the child. Are they ready to see this? Are they ready to know this? Are they ready to understand this? I saw Terminator 2 as a kid, and there was just, violence is a different beast from, foul language and suggestive content. Because violence is pretty much human nature. There is going to be violence in the store. There's violence in nature. There's violence outside of nature. It's just there. People want to say it doesn't exist, but it's understandably there. And honestly, I do get it. You shouldn't have that for a kid's show. I mean, Batman should be punching criminals in the face and karate chopping them. But, the Care Bears shouldn't do it. The Care Bears are teaching a different lesson altogether about friendship and stuff like that. People can get annoyed with them, but, it takes a good writer to make that great. Example, My Little Pony. Started out as an annoying girl show, became a very good girl show with a very odd fan base. Different discussion on that day. But, thing about Razorfist and, Melanie Mac is, yes, they are being very hypocritical to a degree. Melanie Mac she's been in the gaming industry. She understands how dirty it can become, for selling sex and all that stuff and all this. But, that's her opinion. She's probably been through the ringer multiple times. She's probably had a very bad experience dealing with that. And that's why she turned to Jesus, find salvation, find forgiveness. And that's very understandable. I don't understand why people are upset that a Christian has Christian views. And if she's talking about removing it, then I disagree with her on the whole censoring thing. But she's a Jesus freak, and you can call her a hypocrite all you want, but she has a point. And I'll use an example of Lara Croft and Claire Redfield from Resident Evil 2. Especially the remake, because I have a lot to say about that. In the remake, so I'll give you an example. Claire's remake is Claire's original outfit, the red, motorcycle, college girl, biker outfit. That red with the spandex lining and stuff like that, and the boots and the knife there. Understandable. That is a 90s chick outfit. It's not sexual, it's fun, it's cute, it's cuddly. Not cuddly, but you get what I'm saying there. It's very much, what a girl in her young 20s would do. A college student who's a biker, who's a badass in a sense, but has compassion and stuff of that nature. And same thing with Lara Croft. Lara Croft is basically not supposed to be a realistic woman. Well, basically, she was based off a realistic woman, Nell McAndrews. If you want to look her up, fine. I suggest turning on the mature filter or just look up Lara Croft, Nell McAndrews, and you find those photos, and you can tell she should have been Lara Croft. Give her some acting lessons, and you can hit it off. But the outfits those two wore represented what they were. Claire didn't wear a sexy outfit. She wore a cute, fun outfit of the 90s. Okay. As where Laura wore an outfit that benefited her abilities as a explorer, as an athlete, as somebody who's using agility to her advantage. Lara Croft, well, despite the fact that she can move fucking, excuse my language, boulders and giant rocks around with ease. Well, she has to push them and stuff like that, but she's athletic. She needs an outfit that doesn't restrain her. And yes, she has a form. And by the way, her original outfit, I believe, I have a theory about that. That's a single, that's a one-piece bathing suit with shorts, and for good reason. You need you're swimming around in waters in the wild and stuff like that. You need a better outfit. I feel like that's the point with Lara Croft there. With, especially her other outfits too. They're not really sexualized. It's just the fact that she has a very gorgeous body, and that those outfits emphasizes her shape too. I mean, the cat suit from, I think it was last. I'm not sure. I'm starting the Tomb Raider. I'm on Tomb Raider 2 right now as we speak, and honestly, those games are damn good. And I can get into a review about that in another video. But holy shit, I miss old games, and this is why. But I digress. Those outfits, are not sexualized in nature. They are basically, you can say they're meant for gooning and stuff like that, but the character itself is attractive, and she is allowed to show her attractiveness, and you can say that, you can get excited over it and fawn over it and use your male gaze to look at it, or your female gaze, depending on your preference, and sexualize it. But in reality, Laura's done something. She's not just a sexy character. She's not just a pretty face with a beautiful body. She is an explorer. She's a badass. She's a, tough lady. She kicks ass. She, finds relics. She saved the world multiple times. She's rich. She's powerful. She's smart. There's more to this character than just her looks, and I think people kind of forget that. And I think that's why Melanie Mac was upset about that. Where she's like, you shouldn't goon about her about that. But then again, people will do that shit. And you know what? Yeah, we do need Jesus, but let me find the path. Let me hit a certain point where I have to say no and go down the path of redemption. Let people do that. Be an example. Don't try to force people. Don't try to solicit help. Unsolicited help is not always good. Unsolicited help is like a dick pic. Not everybody wants one. Not everybody's asking for it. Unless they say, yes, send me a picture of you-know-what, or, yes, I could use your help, that's fine. Nobody wants, again, especially for the I can't pronounce it, for the neurodivergent group. You know what I'm talking about. And also, I agree with the fact that some outfits in games are just there to just be gooning outfits, and sometimes men can be pissed off at that. Like, I'll give you an example. Resident Evil 2 Remake. You can unlock Claire's original outfit from Resident Evil 2, but however, they made changes, which I absolutely do not agree with, 100%. And that is her, if you look it up, if they basically what they did was give her a shirt without, it's not covering her entire body. You get to see her boobs, cleavage in a sense, and it's very Gunnar-esque. And it's like, that's not her. And I was not like, ooh, I love that. I was disappointed. I was like, that's not her original fucking outfit. Where are her gloves? Why is it more sexualized than it was in the original game? And guess what? I wouldn't care if Jill had her skirt in the remake, and I'll tell you why. And I can talk about Jill's outfit. Well, I can talk about both their outfits and how boring they are if I ever get to do a review. But back in the day when if you try to sneak up a character's skirt or did something perverted, the game would shun you, straight up shun you. Hey, knock it off there, you little gooner, you pervert. To me, I think one, that's funny to the player. Two, it shows that the game makers who made this understood their player base. And three, understood reality. Yes, women like to wear skirts and dresses and stuff like that, and they can get away with it. A guy gets, whereas they're being called the you-know-what. Melanie Mac's favorite word, F-A-G-G-E-O. Faggerio. I don't know. But, again, it's just one of the things I get annoyed with. Games back in the day had common sense and sensibilities, and they understood their fan base. But then, you know, now it's like, and again, I understand where Razor Fist is coming from in this too. We don't need games just from China and South Korea making those kind of games too. Why can't America make good games again and get back to a place of just balance where we have characters who are dressing attractively but not erotically. I'm okay with erotic outfits, don't get me wrong. I like sexy outfits. I like the power fantasy of the armor bikini. I like that I'm playing a video game. Let me do that. Let me have sexy characters. I mean, hell, Red Sonja talked about that. If you ever read a comic of, I don't know which comic it was, but Red Sonja talks about why she wears the chainmail bikini, because men get easily distracted, and if you're a badass barbarian woman and you have the skills to pay the bills, and not afraid to have everything hanging out, and the only thing covering you is chainmail bikini, you can win in a fight pretty well. Like, oh well, there's an attractive Conan the Barbarian, the same thing. He's wearing a barbarian like shorts in the sense. Not really a loincloth, but you can say it's a loincloth, but you see everything. You can see his butt cheeks in a sense. Hell, take a look at the new Mortal Kombat game. Again, I could talk about that, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is Melanie Mac and Razor Fists, the criticism they're receiving, and also the backlash they're getting too. And also with the whole Razor Fist situation too, people are digging up things about his personal life, which I think is inappropriate, because they can't come up with a counter argument to this and listen to the other side of this. And I think Razor Fist is absolutely, I think he's obnoxious. And again, he's from Arizona, and he's a snarky fuck, and also he grew up in a religious family. I mean, you could talk about, people can talk about his relationship with Miss Eve and all the situation between that, and let's be honest, that's a situation of a crazy ex-girlfriend trying to ruin this guy. And I honestly saw the picture of him doing the happy dance by himself, and to me, there's something suspicious about it, and I've looked at it, and not the photo itself, but everything surrounding it. If you see it at the bottom of it, towards the bottom of the picture, it says 60% liked, but there's no thumbs up or thumbs down. How could something be liked if it doesn't have a thumbs up or a thumbs down? There's no indicator saying how many people liked it or saw it. And you look at the dialogue and text, this definitely is blackmail. This is definitely a character assassination. And again, do I think they should have been more open about saying, hey, look, I used to Melanie Mac did, and I listened, and I understand where she's coming from, but Razor's kind of in the sense of, I think it's shame, and he doesn't really want to talk about it, and he wants to keep it personal. That's understandable. I think getting into people's lives is kind of inappropriate, because we shouldn't dig more into them. If they're disagreeing with you, then they disagree with you. I mean, hell, there's stuff out there about me that I put out there because I enjoy the art of doing it. Again, it's just back on the Razor, there's a lot of, people, wanting to hurt this guy because a lot of things. They're both conservatives, they're both Christians, they're both right-wing, and they both don't agree with the Gooner shit. I understand that perfectly. That's perfectly understandable when you don't want to be dealing with that nonsense, and you don't want every game to be like that. Hell, I grew up in the 2000s. As much as I like Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball, Volumes 1 and 2, still waiting for 3, or Dead or Alive or Soul Calibur, or, all these other games that had beautiful bikini babes fighting and stuff like that, doing crazy shit. There was also a lot of BMX, XXX games, or games that were edgy, but for the sake of being edgy. They weren't there just to be, okay, it's a power fantasy, let's have fun. No, they basically did it just to be edgy. Again, I think Outlaw Golf is another example, or the Guy game. What a Guy game is? It's it's a football game. It's, Grand Theft Auto. It's Soul Calibur. Don't patronize us, okay? I know what I like, and I like what I know. But again, there's a lot going on with Razor, and I absolutely disagree with the Puritan. And people are surprised that the Puritan, the guy who wants to live a Puritan life, is Puritan. I mean, I heard the argument that he had with his wife, his girlfriend, and honestly, they talk about a certain job, that job, and I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, if this is what I'm thinking it is, and it's not a government job, or it could be something else, but I saw that hidden video, which, by the way, Miss Eve, no, keep it personal. You know, this idea that, you know, Razor was just like being like what I heard about it, he was being stern. Yeah, was he staring her down? Unless he decided to raise his hand, that's a different beast. But if you're just like, you disagree with that person's lifestyle choices, understandably, like Wayne Knight, and it happened with Wayne Knight and Adrian Curry. One was a very religious person, the other one was kind of loose with it, and decided to give, Wayne Knight, I think his name is Wayne Knight, he used to be on the Brady Bunch, look this up, photos of her, erotic photos that he could, look at, and he broke up with her over that, because there was also some lesbian, gay stuff in there. I would have forgiven her. I would have been like, because then again, I follow Conan rather than Solomon Kane, like Razor. And that's another thing, too, I'll talk about in just a moment. Razor, I would have forgiven Adrian Curry. I would have been like, oh, where does she live? And I'm like, I would have joked around about it and all that stuff. And, hey, next time let me take the photos. Why? Because, I know I'm flawed. I know I like looking at naked women. To quote David Lynch, I like old factories and I like nude women. I'm sorry. And I wouldn't belittle a nude woman because, she just simply doesn't have any clothes on. I mean, if that's your whole identity, okay, then fine. But if you have other things going on, people are complex. But to belittle somebody because they don't have any clothing on, and you're going to remove the accomplishments that they did, I'm sorry, no, that's just wrong. But if you're super conservative or Christian and you're dating somebody like that, if you're both conservative but one of you is super Christian, you need to discuss that stuff. That some things are not going to fly with them, and they're very set in stone about that. When they become religious, they are living a path of purity. Take a look at Razor Fist's heroes. It's The Shadow and Solomon Kane. Both are Puritans. Both are, do or die guys. Both will punish the wicked. There's no room. They will not make friends with evil. They will put a bullet in evil's head. They are the slayers of evil and darkness. These guys are Old Testament heroes. As we say, Batman is pretty much a New Testament. Yes, I will beat the shit out of you, but I promise you this, you will not be killed. Understandably. Batman is you can say his, no-kill rule is retarded. The only reason why it's retarded, it's basically, and I can get into this in the whole thing, but he wants everybody else to follow it. And again, I don't, getting into his personal life, I think it's just a low-ball attack. And the same thing they did with the Melanie Mac, too. I saw this, too, on Twitter. Excuse me, X, sorry. I'm an old man. On X, somebody altered a photo of her wearing a Tomb Raider lingerie outfit, and of Melanie Mac, by the way. And it was tampered with. It was altered to win an argument. And I think that's why, instead of coming up with a counter-argument, a well-thought-out counter-argument, you decided to basically just, punch down and just basically blackmail her and being like, look, you see this? This is why you shouldn't listen to this hypocrite. And you know what? Yes, she is, but you can come up with a counter-argument. And the fact, I saw, and again, because I saw the real photo, and that real photo showed her not, she wasn't wearing lingerie. She was wearing regular clothing that Lara Croft would wear, especially from Tomb Raider, the movie, except, not as tight and a little bit more loose, understandably. The same thing with Razor Fist, you know what I mean? I get where you're, coming from when you want to call it. The reason he's blocking some of these people is that he doesn't want to be involved with E-drama. He does not want to be involved with E-drama. And understandably, too, people out there like that E-drama. Most recently, Ethan Klein called out Markiplier, and he blocked Ethan Klein. Hey, maybe because it's we don't want any of this nonsense of you being a modern-day Howard Stern or some shit like that. Or, oh, someone's not going to let me live my life. I need to fight him. Oh, fucking well. You know what you can do? Hey, and George Carlin talked about this, too. And I can talk about this in another video as well. George Carlin said, hey, you don't like the person? You can turn it off, or don't listen to him. Understandably. I like Razor Fist, I like Melanie Mac, but I don't agree with them. And honestly, that's okay. I think I spoke long enough, and I'll say this, my final thoughts. Whatever Razor Fist is going on in his life, let him figure out, let him express it, let him reveal most of himself. I don't care about his real name or his personal problems. You know, make some videos. He's making good content. I don't think any of those two are grifters, by the way. If you're making something good, then make something, but don't, think everybody's going to agree with you on everything. That's all I got to say. Peace, love, and happiness to you, and God fucking speed.